Happy Wing Wednesday, everybody. Welcome inside the After Hours Lounge on a Wing Wednesday night, courtesy of our friends at Cunningham's Pub. We got a great show lined up for you. We're going to cover everything, and I mean everything, that happened at Big Ten Media Days today, including, I don't know if you know this, John, the head Husker himself, Matt Rule, had a conversation with the media. We're going to talk about our what he had to say and our thoughts on it. Kirk Ferentz wants the smoke tonight. The Iowa head coach had some interesting takes on his new look offense. And then at 6:30, we're going to discuss what exactly Isaac Gifford, Ben Scott, and Ty Robinson had to say at the BTN desk today. 7 o'clock, we'll buy or sell around several different topics, including Saquon Barkley being on camera without knowing it for Hard Knocks. At 7:15, there are some major changes, according to Ross Dellinger, coming to scholarship numbers for multiple sports, including football. And then at 7:30, we continue to go around the metro area, interviewing all the high school softball and football teams we can. Tonight, we only have a football team for you, as head coach Larry Martin of Omaha North brings his Vikings in studio as
favorite
well.
dudes.
You can get a hold of the show at After Hour 1620. You can give us a phone call at 402-951-1620, where Dan Campen will accept your phone calls this evening. We are brought to you by Bellevue University. If you're looking for the ideal college experience this fall, head over to bellevue.edu and register for classes tonight. Like we said, Matt Rule spoke to the media today, and again, wins another press conference. I mean, the guy can just hold a room in the palm of his hands and never puts his foot in his own mouth. Very rarely do you see him do that. The one thing I will say, whether it be the Joel Klatt interview a few weeks ago or today, or when he talked to the media after he was at the podium, there is a confident swagger about how this guy in Matt Rule feels about his program right now. He's not really cocky, but it feels like he has something in his back pocket. Like he has that we know we're good mentality, which is weird because this team was still 5-7 a year ago.
Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know if that's much different than he was a year ago. Is it? Like he's always a very forward, very positive, no excuses. Like that's just kind of him. But I will agree with you. Like he does seem pretty confident in what they're doing.
Which is funny to say, because he has not came out and said, and I don't think he ever will. Let's say Nebraska goes 12-0 for the sake of the argument. There's no way that happens.
I will argue with you.
Let's just say that were to happen. He doesn't come off to me as a guy that the following year would come out and say, I think we're going to go 12-0 again. I think we're going to go 10-2, 11-1's not good enough. He never feels like a guy that will put a number on it. And I think that's really smart, not only because of the previous coach, but I mean, anytime you put that information out there, it's getting put in a headline somewhere for some reason. There's always a narrative, and it feels like that's what Matt Rule's MO is just how always know that you're in the fishbowl and know that the narrative can be controlled by yourself.
All he said was 5-7 is not a good year.
Yeah, and he's right.
Yeah.
And he told Joel Klatt a couple weeks ago, hey, if we're minus 17 in turnovers again, I'm going to be out here playing golf because they're not going to ask me to come back. He's probably right.
I mean, you just love the way he gets up there and he commands the conversation, right? Even when he gets a question that he doesn't necessarily really want to answer a certain way.
He got asked about Evan Cooper in the sidebar today.
And he still gives you something.
Yeah.
But it's not like just the random coach speak. Like, well, we got to go with the guys we got. Like, he's still like has that wherewithal and the public speaking skill to be able to give you an answer, say it the way he wants to say, convey the information that he wants you to get without it being like arrogant or dismissive or anything like that. He's an extremely skilled public speaker.
And I think a perfect example of that, we referenced the Joel Klatt interview, and he did this there, and he did it today. The first question he was asked, it didn't take very long for somebody to call Scott Satterfield, by the way. But B, he was asked about the turnovers. And the Joel Klatt interview and then today are the first time I ever remember him referencing injuries in regards to the ailments or the hurdles that they faced a year ago. When, honestly, it probably had the Jeff Sims thing is the Jeff Sims thing. But when you talk about the biggest problems this team had a year ago, for me, it was the injury bug as a whole. And obviously the Xavier Betts situation is different, but Isaiah Garcia Castaneda getting injured and Xavier Betts leaving the team, and you had so many, their top two running backs going down, your offensive line was banged up for the majority of the season. Like, you just had so many things go wrong He never
Yeah.
once really talked about that in season. He did give you the quintessential, next man up, but they lived by that motto. It was never, hey, we really need Heinrich to come along here to get ahead. No, we're going to do our best to get him ready. It was never, hey, Chuba had this foot injury at the beginning of the season. He's been a little bit behind the 8-ball since he's been here. It's been, no, we're going to do our best to make sure he's prepared to play this game against Iowa. They played 3 quarterbacks last year, and the message coming from the head coach never changed.
I'll give you a little bit that injuries were a problem. But I'll also say this. I don't think any of those guys who were injured would have fixed the problems with the offense a year ago. Because the problems started with the first person who got the ball on the snap.
Yeah.
That was the problem the entire year.
So I'll give you that for the first 2 games with Minnesota and Colorado. I think those last 4, if you'd have had Isaiah Garcia Castaneda or Xavier Betts that was wanting to be there and dialed in, or if you had all of your running back room available and not literally just one guy at one point, I think you could have. I think that could have done a little bit more, especially with that defense. Because the other thing, especially with the run game, you could have taken away is taking the ball out of the quarterback's hands.
But here's the thing: like Heinrich Haarberg, all those games that he started, you tell me which wide receiver that was injured would have helped him throw the ball better.
That's why I said the running backs.
Sure, but like the running backs who played last year did a pretty good job.
Sure.
Like the running back room, I don't think was a huge problem. Yes,
right.
You had
but
some
if you could have
injuries.
if you could have had all of those guys available and let Emmett Johnson kind of organically come into the fold and earn that spot and get a couple more touches through repetition while having Gabe Ervin healthy and being available and having Ramir Johnson there, and having Ramir Johnson maybe would have been even more important because he could have lined up in the slot and helped you in other places like he did when he was healthy. But I'm with you. I mean, I don't think having Isaiah Garcia Castaneda for the entire season changes a whole lot in the outcome of the wins-loss totals.
No, they're still 5-7 for me. Like I don't think none of those guys who were injured is going to make a difference in the quarterback play enough to have given them another win. I just don't see it happening. The problems were under center. That's where the problems were. You had a guy that they believed in who turned out to be a huge turnover monster. Like, and you couldn't even,
again, by the way, and they should have seen it coming.
You couldn't even put him on the field.
Like, if there's one black eye on this coaching staff right now, it is the Jeff Sims experiment.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The fact that they brought in a guy I don't want to say they chased off Casey Thompson because I don't think that was the case. I think it was just I think they thought they were going to need a running quarterback and they needed somebody that thought they was going to be healthy because they saw what they probably got some feedback on the offensive line, got some feedback on what the problems were beforehand, and just assumed they were going to need a running quarterback and probably told Casey Thompson as much. So I don't want to say they ran him off. They probably had a conversation with him and said, you're probably not the fit we're looking for. There's probably not a guaranteed starting spot for you. And a guy like Casey Thompson said, all right, I'll go elsewhere. And he did. And obviously he got injured too. But my question about this staff right now, and not necessarily the staff, but the direction of the program as a whole, because, and I think this is by design, and I've been very vocal that I think Dylan Raiola is the starter day one, but he was asked about it on Pat McAfee today, and the place that Matt Rule is going to announce who the starter is day one is not going to be on television or at the Pat McAfee show. You could take that to the bank. But is it a bad look for this coaching staff if Dylan Raiola isn't the day one starter?
Is it a bad look for the coaching staff? No, I don't think so. Just like he's a consensus 5-star quarterback. Who's not taking that guy?
Right.
If he's not entirely ready to be the starting quarterback in year one, then he wasn't entirely ready to be the starting quarterback at Georgia. He wasn't ready to be the starting quarterback at Ohio State.
Let me tell you why I asked this, because you just said a minute ago what wide receiver was going to help Heinrich Haarberg be better last year.
Yeah.
And couple that with, listen, he looked like a much better and more improved quarterback by the spring game. But if that's the case, and you bring in this guy, and you can't get him ready to unseat a Heinrich Haarberg, who last year looked like a linebacker playing quarterback at many times, not at any detriment to his own. This is a guy that wasn't even going to quarterback meetings 2 years ago, excuse me. If you can't have that guy who has all the pedigree, came in as touted as he did, you put as much resource into getting him to come to Lincoln as you did, and he's not the guy game one, and I am 99.9% convinced that he is going to be, and it's not even a question. But if he's not, I think that's a really bad look for Matt Rule and the staff. Because of everything I just said, but couple in with that the Jeff Sims experiment.
Yeah, I bristle a little bit at it being a bad look
Because he's a true freshman. I get all
yeah.
that.
So I don't want to put that judgment on it just yet. Because
Listen, if Kyle
maybe
McCord,
he's not the day one starter.
if Kyle McCord is here, okay, fine.
Sure.
Like, sure, you could convince me it's maybe best for Dylan not to. But the situation they have and the situation they were in a year ago, in my opinion, and I'm just some dude on the radio, I think it's not just a bad look. I think it's a really bad look.
Well, honestly, it's more of a bad look for Dylan Raiola because
it's not a good look for anybody.
As you
Except for
just
Heinrich
said,
Haarberg.
if you can't unseat that guy,
Yeah.
what were you doing? Because everything we've seen, everything we've heard, all the scouts, all the reports, all the tape that we've seen says, yep, this guy should be the one. He should be the quarterback that starts the first game of the season. And if he doesn't win that job, what happened?
Yeah, and Eric points out on Twitter, what about injury? Yeah, obviously outside of an injury. I mean, if he gets hurt, that's not necessarily anybody's fault. But and the one thing I'll say is when we reference that guy and to Heinrich Haarberg, like the one thing that he just constantly gets described as is a football player. And listen, he's got
a heck of an athlete.
He's got heart, and we've seen him take an absolute beating a year ago, and he's definitely earned his stripes to be the starter. So there's always that discussion. And there's probably some guys in that locker room that still really love Heinrich Haarberg as the person, but it just, to me, I get why you don't name the starter now. It makes complete sense. Dylan Raiola has taken exactly 0 snaps in a fall camp, let alone a college football game.
Keep everybody engaged.
You've got to keep everybody engaged, and you've got to dangle the carrot at the end of the stick. Like, you couldn't help but notice, and we're going to talk about the 3 guys on the panel that came with Nebraska, or came with Matt Rhule in Nebraska to Big Ten Media Days in Isaac Gifford, Ben Scott, and Ty Robinson. They all lit up when Dylan Raiola was talked about. And that kind of attention is infectious, and obviously there's something there. And Ben Scott said, hey, listen, Dylan Raiola is the first guy there, last guy to leave, too. And that's a big deal.
Yep.
Not only for a 5-star quarterback, but a freshman to be able to do that, too. Though, one interesting thing that Matt Rhule said today about being he was asked what piece of advice he wished he had. I was talking about the adjustments.
Weather.
Not even that.
The music.
He said, yeah, I had to get readjusted to there being a band at games and the sound and stuff. And I was like,
and being an actual crowd that was making noise.
Yeah.
Because nobody
shots
was
fired, Charlotte.
a sound in Charlotte.
But that was weird to me because it's not like he spent a decade in the NFL. He was there for a cup of coffee and spent the majority of his time in college football. So it was weird to me that he said that he had to adjust that, he being Matt Rhule. But it's just like, that's got to be. I wonder how much a culture shock that is to not adjust, or to have to adjust to there not being that kind of noise at the next level too.
Yeah, I mean, like he just, even though you could tell he was struggling to come up with something useful to answer that question with, it's not a terrible.
You know
question.
what I had to adjust to? My quarterback turning the ball over 34 times.
I had to adjust. I had to adjust to not coaching players who were great
Christian
at
McCaffrey,
football.
Yeah.
But he still like gave you something, you know. It's like Coach Osborne said, like the wind.
Yeah.
I
don't think that was just something. To me, he's referenced that several times. He's talked about Kirk Ferentz about, like, to me, that's something that he is well accounted for in coming into the season.
And I know we're going to get to some of the players' comments, but one of the threads throughout Matt Rhule's comments, and then when all 3 of the players had their individual breakout sessions, they all talked about being veterans and being an old team. And Matt Rhule referenced having veteran players who've been in the system.
Yeah, did you catch his bowl game comment, by the way?
Yeah.
He said when we make it to a bowl game, we're gonna have 30 seniors this season.
Yeah. But each one of the players at some point during their individual conversations referenced being the old guy, teaching the younger kids, you know, having come back for the extra year, being a veteran team. And it seems like a lot of the confidence that's oozing out of media days for Nebraska comes from the fact that they are a veteran team.
Yeah,
now.
they're old.
It does have a lot of players on the roster who've made a considerable number of
Which
starts.
is incredible because we just started this whole thing off talking about a freshman quarterback. Too.
quarterback.
Hey, you know what? Nobody cares about Kirk Ferentz. We're going to continue the Matt Rule conversation.
What?
On the other side
You're
of the break.
telling me there's more to talk about when Matt Rule's taking the podium?
A lot more to get to. We'd love your thoughts, too.
I knew this was going to happen,
402. Yeah, I almost didn't even do a smoke segment. 402-951-1620, or you can get at the show at After Hours 1620. We'd love your thoughts on the head coach speaking today in Indianapolis. He talked about his new defensive back coach and his defensive coordinator. We'll get to that side of the ball when we come back here on 1620 The Zone. If you missed this segment, it was brought to you by our friend Amber Best with Berkshire Hathaway. If you've got a house on the market and you just can't get it to move, maybe you have a for sale by owner sign out in the front yard. That could be why. Let Amber Best with Berkshire Hathaway come get your house off the market, educate you on how you can build your portfolio through real estate and a whole lot more. Check out Amber Best. That's BESS.com tonight and sell and buy with the best today. We'll be right back. More from the head Husker when we come back on 1620 Zone.
Hey, everybody. John Schreiner here for Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear. It's finally here. We are talking about actual football. It is football season because, yes, this is media day. Fall camp will begin in just a week and a half's time, and that means you got to get your fall camp going too. You got to get your closet ready for game day. And you don't want to look like a bum when you head down to the stadium to cheer on your favorite team, whether you're cheering on the red, the blue, the white, the black, the green, the orange, whatever it may be. You got to get some of the great gear from Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear. Grab yourself a Mizzen and Main polo, a Johnny O polo, or some of Dan's favorite, the Peter Millar gear. Baby, you are going to love it. It's so comfortable. It's so classic in the style. It never goes out. You're going to keep it forever. It's going to last, and it is going to be your favorite shirt in your closet. I guarantee you that. Check them out at 78th and Dodge. They're easy to find. It's Jerry Ryan. Tell them we told you to go down and get your fall closet ready to go. Check them out. Jerry Ryan Clothing and Sportswear. They've been dressed in Omaha for over 50 years.
6:22 on a Wing Wednesday edition of the After Hours Lounge, brought to you by our friends at Bellevue University. Head over to bellevue.edu. Register for the ideal college experience this fall. We told you we were going to talk about Kirk Ferentz at 6:15. We're liars. We're going to talk about somebody you actually care about. It's Matt Rhule. And he had a lot to say today, including in a sidebar session. We referenced this a couple of weeks ago when the news broke. But he was asked about Evan Cooper and Evan Cooper's departure from Nebraska. And he said, listen, I don't talk about transfers. I don't talk about coaches leaving. That's up to them. That's their story to tell. Made sure he mentioned that he still loves Evan Cooper and it was sad to see him go. And Evan Cooper had to do it for personal reasons. And if Evan ever wanted to discuss it, he could do so in his own time, which I thought a lot of people just say, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about that. But
yeah,
he made it a way to spin it as a positive, and I thought that was a really good look for Matt Rhule and Evan Cooper and everybody involved.
Well, this is just what I was saying earlier. He gives you whatever information he wants you to have, not necessarily the information you're seeking, but even if you don't get the answer you wanted, you still walk away from it feeling like you got something. You know what I mean? Like, he gives you an answer. He doesn't just go, yeah, we don't talk about that.
We don't talk about Bruno.
He gives you an answer that you can still use for something. Like, it still gives you an insight into perhaps why he wouldn't want to answer this type of question.
Yeah, Matt Rhule is a sort of just a journalist's best friend.
Oh.
Because he
speaks in sound bites.
He always gives you the quote too. No matter what the question is, he doesn't really hit him with the no comment. He always says, well, we're waiting, we're looking, we're doing this. Just back to the Raiola thing with the fact that they haven't named a starting quarterback yet. He's never been like, I'm not talking about starting quarterback. He's always said, hey, we're in a process. We're doing this, we're doing that.
You know what's even funnier though, is he's never said, I'm not going to name a starter.
Nope.
He just says, this is where we are. We really like Daniel Kalen. We're really glad that we got him to come here from Bellevue West. Heinrich Haarberg put in a ton of work last year. He won us some football games. And Dylan Raiola is just showing up and working hard every day.
Do you think he knows how to give an answer that's under 30 seconds? I would even posture it as saying maybe even under a minute.
At least he didn't give a 13-minute opening statement of his 15-minute podium time like Luke Fickell did yesterday.
Obviously.
One reporter got to ask him a question.
And it wasn't a good one either.
No.
It's one of those things that you're never. I think about the first time the first time that he attended the Jet Award too, and just how nobody wanted him to stop talking because it was all great information that was useful. It was stuff people wanted, and it was cognizant. You could understand what he was saying. Unlike this one head coach that came out one time was like, I don't have an opening statement. Let's just take questions. Which Frost gets a lot of flack for that. I didn't hate it though, because honestly, I don't need an opening statement. Like, I don't need you to welcome the 4 West Coast teams.
Yeah.
I would honestly much rather have, to your point, 13, 14 minutes of people asking you questions, because those are probably the questions that I have. You're probably not going to tell me a whole lot in your opening statement anyway.
But that's exactly
I didn't know that Matt Rhule did spend time at UCLA as a student, though. So that was valuable.
But that's exactly why Luke Fickell did what he did.
Oh, agreed. Yeah.
He didn't want to answer the tough questions. So he used up all the time saying the things he wanted to say, took one question and walked off the stage. Like, if you're a guy who doesn't want to answer the questions, it's a pretty smart strategy. Use up all the time.
He was asked about John Butler, who's obviously the new defensive back coach in place of Evan Cooper. And he said, it's going to take a while for John to come in. He's doing a good job of learning that side of the ball, or excuse me, that position and that terminology. The one interesting thing is he said that Adam DeMichael, the former de facto quarterbacks coach, essentially a year ago, has moved over to that position, is coaching the defense now. I found that really, really, really interesting. But he also, again, harped on the fact that how important it is that Tony White kind of specializes in defensive backs as well.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that he said that Tony White's one of the best football coaches in America.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody would disagree with him.
But then he also referenced the relative inexperience overall in the defensive staff, and that the addition of John Butler is perfect to add to that staff. He's a former coordinator. He's a guy who's been around. He's done it all, seen it all. And so him being in that defensive coaching unit for Nebraska just adds so much experience and know-how to a group of guys that a lot of them don't have a ton of experience.
Yeah, I think he referenced how young Rob Dvorak was, at least 3 times today, and he just turned 32, by the way. So at 30 also, not 32. But yeah, it's really interesting how good that defense is. And listen, you know, when you talk about Rob Dvorak, where you talk about not Joey, wide receiver
Garrett McGuire.
Garrett McGuire, thank you. And
His
how
dad's Joey.
Yeah, I know. And how young this staff is. And then you look at how good that defense was a year ago. It's really incredible to see. What did you make of his statement about when he said he said when guys come up to him and say, "Hey, we're favoring this game," he wants to punch him, and he goes, "Well, not really, because you know, well, my elementary school coach punched me and it made me a better man." That's a different story. What did you make of that little
It's
tip?
a little bit weird. That was a little bit odd.
It was like the media all looked at each other like, "Do we need to be here for this conversation?"
Yeah, that was one of those like too much information
Yeah.
moments.
You could tell he regretted saying
Yeah.
it immediately. By the way,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't take much from it. I mean, it was
it was a moment, that's for
yeah,
sure.
it was just a little bit odd.
Yeah, he made it a point to say, you know, he's been like we said, quietly confident, and he throws these subtle things in there. He said, "I expect us to be in the mix of the conference." This is a team that hasn't been over 500 in almost a decade. Was 5-7 a year ago. At certain times, couldn't throw a forward pass a year ago. And he said, "I expect us to be involved in the conference at the end of the season." And I mean, what's the equivalent of him coming out and saying, "Hey, I think we're gonna suck, probably go 4-8, 5-7 again, to see what happens.
Mid-table
I'll
finish
see you in Indy next year."
should be good enough.
Yeah, I mean, but it's interesting that he's not talking about, "Hey, we want to win, we want to be successful. 9 wins would be." Doesn't say that. He said they want to be in the mix of the conference on the same day that he said that the top 4 teams from the Big Ten should be involved in the college football playoff. Now, if you're in the mix of the Big Ten conference championship, and you think all 4 of the top 4 teams in the league should get in, that tells you that Matt Rule's expectation this season is to have some chance of at least touching or being grasped on a playoff spot.
Well, your prediction is true, and they're 10-2. They'll be in.
Oh, without a doubt. I think if you go 10-2 in the SEC or the Big Ten, even if you're not a top 2 school, I think you're in no matter what.
Yeah, they'll be. I mean, you'll be in the top. If you're 10-2 and you're in the Big Ten or the SEC, you're going to be a top 10 team.
It may behoove you to go 10-2 and not be in the conference championship game for that matter.
Sure.
Maybe it's in my opinion that might be a benefit.
You might be. I mean, you might end up with like the 9-10 seed, but you'll be in.
Yeah, that's all you need is a shot. He brought up Carter Nelson, and a guy that got a lot of hype but hasn't really been asked a whole lot about up until this point, and wasn't even asked about. Matt Rule just kind of nonchalantly brought him up unsolicited in this situation. He said he's going to start him off at wide receiver because he felt like wide receiver was easier to learn and they could work him into the tight end if they need to. Now, there's a couple things to unpack there. Obviously, Carter Nelson is good enough of an athlete just to come up and line up and play wide receiver. Yeah, and that's not anybody that didn't get a chance to make it out to Ainsworth and see a game. You watched the Hawaiian Bowl. You saw the difference in what type of dude Carter Nelson is, by the way. But also, it's interesting to know that in this system, that wide receiver is easier to learn than tight end. And I think that's kind of a given because you got to learn, obviously, protections and calls on the line, as well as learning patterns and things like that. But that's something interesting to watch going forward, in my opinion, is if they bring in guys that are high-end tight end position guys, if they're going to move them out, split them out, and then let them work their way in.
There's the other thing that I think plays into this is that a tight end room is crowded.
Yeah,
like,
that's got a little bit.
You've got Fedoni, Borkcher, and Lindenmeyer who are all going to play,
right?
And there's just not enough snaps to get Carter Nelson on the field at tight end.
Which is it says a lot about Carter Nelson because they're like, no, we've got to get this dude out
there. Yeah, they want him to get some reps and be involved in the game, but like the 3 tight ends that they have are all solid and all played last year and contributed last year.
I don't think we're ever going to have an issue with the tight end position because the one thing it seems that Matt Rule loves is him some tight ends.
And the state of Nebraska can produce tight ends.
Yeah, and he talks about Thomas Fedoni at nauseum sometimes, and I think that's probably going to morph into Carter Nelson by the time Thomas Fedoni walks away from Nebraska because it just seems like he's got a love for that position. I feel like you've had some thoughts. Did you want to say something?
Oh, yeah. I've had a ton of thoughts.
If I ever just look at you and don't talk, Dan, that's me giving you the chance to start talking.
Thank you. And it's also because every time I do have a legitimate thought or something to add to the conversation, one of you two will almost immediately, if
Start
not
talking.
within a minute, start talking. But then you'll say the thing that I was
Oh.
like, oh, that's a good follow up, because John gave the tight end room is kind of crowded, and I was like, that was my thing. But no, so I'm not a dork.
Liar.
I didn't watch Big Ten Media Days today.
Watch the whole thing.
No, I didn't.
I did.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Because you actually
things.
care and respect for your job.
I got thoughts on Lincoln Riley too.
I did the right thing, and I watched Matt Rule on the Pat McAfee show exclusively.
Which I did not watch, by the
Because-
way. I saw a clip from it, and that was enough. I can't do it, man.
It was
Love McAfee on SmackDown. I think he's a great WWE announcer. That show is just two bros in a frat room for me. I can't do it.
And see, that's kind of why I like it, because I think
course you
for
do.
some reason it opens Matt Rule up to a different kind of line of questioning.
He knows
And-
his audience. I'll give you that.
Yeah. And I feel like we get a little bit more of the kind of like jacked up on life Matt Rule a little bit, where he's a little bit more like shooting from the
He
hip.
could bro down a little bit.
But great quotes all day on McAfee talking about the fact that the Big Ten is one of the hardest conferences in all of football right now. They have to
Matt
play.
Rule said it's the toughest conference because of the travel schedule.
Yeah, they have to play 5 road conference games. They got Oregon and USC on the schedule at some point in time. Like, and the one thing that I did like is that I did watch a little bit of Media Days. I was just giving you guys a little dork action. Is the fact that he constantly brings up the fact that every day when he walks to the stadium, he has to walk by 5 national championship trophies.
Mm.
And so in his mind, he's like, there it is right there. There is the proof that this can be done here. And it seems like at every turn and every opportunity, he is reminding this football team that they
It can
are
happen
the
here.
sum of all their parts and that they can do it. And that this can be the squad. And I love how he's always so complimentary of the university, the conference, the state of Nebraska, and all the fans. He's like, we have a top level facility and the best fans in the nation. He's like, I have a real reason every time I'm out in public to bring a national championship back to this state and to this university, because someone will ask me about it everywhere that I go.
Have I told you guys how much I love the fact that Juan Soto is a Yankee, by the way? Yeah, Dan, I agree. And it's something that he doesn't want to let the media forget either. And I think that's a huge deal. He was asked about, or he kind of talked about expectations in that the need for maybe another quarterback of the caliber of Dylan Raiola, right? And he said, a lot of people that he trusts and his confides in from times told him that he needed to go out and get a year one quarterback that was going to be a stopgap and be able to get them to next season until Dylan Raiola was ready to come take the reins and hit the ground running. And he said, this is an interesting quote, and I think it's a really interesting way to look at things. He goes, I don't care what people are saying about me right now. I care what people are going to say about me 10 years from now. And that's a really interesting way to look at things, because it allows you to, yes, have your finger on the pulse of what people are saying, which the guy prior to him had zero care about, didn't even want to acknowledge was happening, but I think is a necessity in this job. But also tune it out because the end game is bigger than what's going on Twitter today.
But it also tells you a lot about how Matt Rule wants to operate a program. He's not afraid to do the hard things first and set the foundation, and maybe not have the kind of year that the fans want to have in year one, maybe not even in year two.
Sure.
But he's willing to lay those bricks at the base of the structure that are going to be solid for you to build on in the future. And like, sometimes you got to lay those bricks in the mud, man. Like, and sometimes it's going to be ugly and it's not going to be fun. But I think that just tells you a lot about him, that he really takes his role as a program builder, and people call him that all the time. He takes that very seriously, and like probably sees himself that way also. That, again, not worried about the right now. Like, how can we be better tomorrow?
Yeah.
Right? Like, who cares what people are saying about us today? What can we do tomorrow to change what they're saying? Right? Like that's his whole thing.
He answered a question that I had today, or I've had for him for a while. He mentioned when he brought up the fact when he stood at the podium in Lincoln and said, "Hey, a good quarterback costs $1 million these days."
Yep.
He fielded a ton of calls from his colleagues saying, "Hey, man, we don't really appreciate that because my quarterback just walked in my room and said he needed $1 million." I wondered how that went over amongst his peers in the coaching community, and I felt like it probably wasn't a great thing for a lot of people that don't have $1 million in their budget to go get a guy.
Yeah. I'm sure it was a little bit tongue in cheek because everybody already knew that. He just said it out loud.
It makes it real though. It's one of those things
Sure.
that, I mean, we've talked about, Alabama had Bentleys back in 07 for most guys.
Mm.
Like, you talk about it, but when the head coach says it, it
Don't
means
talk about
something
it, be
different.
about it.
That's right. He was talking about 1890 and talked about how they're doing well, but they aren't where the big boys are, and that there's still work to do. And Georgia and Alabama and Auburn, and he might have said Oregon, all are at another level, and that's where they kind of aspire to be from a money and NIL situation. But was asked about the way things change, and he said, "I wake up every day and I don't ask about what the scholarship numbers are or revenue sharing. I ask what the rules are now, and that's how we operate." And that is clearly apparent because they just keep adding dudes to this roster,
Yep.
and without any fear of anything going wrong or being taken away. And he just talks about giving guys millions of dollars openly and willing. And it's really refreshing to hear the head coach say things at a podium, and then you actually see it in the plan unfold right in front of your eyes.
This is another, like we always talk about coaches when they're at the podium, whether it's a post-game presser, whether it's a preseason presser, whatever it may be, they're not just talking to the media, they're also talking to recruits, right? Well, now with the NIL collectives out there and those groups needing donations from boosters and the like to have the funds to be able to get the players on campus that you need to win games, the coaches are now also talking to those people.
True.
And that's what this is. You're going to hear this more and more, even from the schools that have tons and tons of money. I'll harken
There's
back
never enough
to the College World Series. Kevin O'Sullivan sitting in a press room at Charles Schwab Field said, like, look, we got to up our NIL game at the University of Florida.
Yeah.
He's like, we need more NIL dollars. We got to get more good players. And like, everybody's going to be saying it because everybody's going to want to have more NIL dollars to get more good players to win more games. This is a new piece of recruiting.
Rinse
is
and
soliciting donations for your collective.
Yeah, it's going to be a constant thing. Like, and even when revenue sharing becomes a thing, they're probably still going to ask for it. By the way,
so for sure.
Don't expect that to go by the wayside. Hey, Matt Rule wasn't the only one that talked today. We're going to discuss exactly what Isaac Gifford, Ben Scott, and Ty Robinson had to say at the BTN desk and a lot of other places. When we come back, if you missed the Who Wants to Smoke segment tonight, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhour1620 or wherever you may find your podcast at. It was brought to you by 402 Barbecue. You also got to stop by. All you got to do is stop by 84th and Spring. Make a purchase. Mention to Kelly and the team. You heard about them on After Hours. She's going to throw in a free soda with a purchase and the mention of our show. It's 402 Barbecue. Stop by 84th and Spring and grab lunch tomorrow. Talking more Husker football on the other side of the break. We come back on 1620 The Zone. Hey, everybody, it's Jimmy Allen here for Williams Law. Yes, it is a wing and a whiskey Wednesday, and if you've been out partaking in the whiskey portion of the week tonight and make a bad decision, get behind the wheel of a car. It's never a good idea. It's expensive. It's dangerous. It's just not worth it. But if you or someone you know is facing a DUI charge, there is help and there are answers. Head over to WilliamsLawLLC.com. Have Bob Williams and his team walk you through the process, explain your rights, and get a free, no obligation legal consultation today. Check out Williams Law at WilliamsLawLLC.com tonight and understand how you can attack your DUI charge tonight. 6:44 on a Wednesday edition of the After Hours Lounge, brought to you by Bellevue University. If you're looking to keep up to date on all things Bellevue athletics, whether it be Dave Denley's women's basketball team or Lucas Gabriel's men's basketball team this winter, you can do so by downloading the BU Bruins app on your smartphone tonight. It wasn't just Matt Rule that spoke today. Isaac Gifford, Ben Scott, and Ty Robinson accompanied their head coach to Indianapolis, and they had some takes on certain things going on. But I will say this. They didn't have a whole lot to say that was meaningful. They all seemed pretty confident, as their head coach did. But I think you kind of got to look and decide why not too many coaches bring offensive linemen to these discussions. Ben Scott, obviously a sixth-year player. I didn't mention this. The one thing that Matt Rule opened up his press conference with, he said, in a time where people are always discussing guys going into the transfer portal, I brought 3 guys with me that all decided to forego the NFL and come back for another season.
Yeah.
Did he forget that Ben Scott transferred to Lincoln? I obviously didn't choose to transfer out of Lincoln, but transferred there, and I thought that was kind of funny and interesting. But Isaac Gifford's one of those guys that when you talk about people that you want to represent the program and can do it and be well spoken and kind of command a room. I think he was the bright star of all 3 of these guys today. Not that anybody did a bad job, but he's clearly well more spoken in front of public speaking senses than the other 2.
Yeah, and you and I were kind of wondering last week, like, why these 3, and we kind of discussed, like, maybe there was some other guys that maybe they could have brought, maybe somebody we would have liked to seen. And after watching each of their breakout sessions, it's pretty obvious why these 3. Like,
yeah, I don't think there could have been 3 better guys.
They're all very steady, very confident,
and they've earned it.
Very well spoken. I just felt like in his individual session, Ty Robinson was just like owning it, man.
Yeah.
He absolutely killed it. Like, asking, like, not being nervous about answering questions, asking for clarification if he didn't understand it.
And wore his heart on his sleeve while doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it was just really good. And then Ben Scott talking about his NIL deal with the sushi restaurant in Hawaii.
How he's a surfer.
Yeah. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Ben Scott on a surfboard.
Yeah, that's a big surfboard. Matt Rule did have the chance to do the funniest possible thing, though, because it would have been absolutely hilarious if he'd have brought Hunter Carberg, Dylan Rowe, and Daniel Cannon.
Oh, no.
No way it would have happened, but it would have been really, really funny. When asked who he was excited to play next to, Isaac Gifford brought up a bunch of different guys. But the interesting thing is he referred to it as his defensive back room.
Yeah.
He said my defensive back room, which when you now have a new coach in that room and you lose Evan Cooper and you're bringing in a guy that's coming in at the last minute to take over the DB position room, and you have a guy that's played as much football as Isaac Gifford has and is from the state and understands the identity of the black shirts in this program, it'd be kind of hard probably for him to refer to as anything else.
And you got a good sense of who that guy is in those Chasing 3 documentary.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because
pieces.
he sounds like another coach out there. He really does.
Yeah, and he lives it, breathes it, owns it, understands it. Like, it's super important to him, and he's got some really wise things to say. Like,
he's going to be a coach at some point in his career.
I think so. He's going to probably play in the league for.
Oh yeah, I agree.
At least get a cup of coffee
when he's done. He's got coaching pedigree all over.
He's got big coach energy.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to weigh in on these 3 guys talked about?
No, I feel like with these 3 and the decision that to come back for the 5th year.
Yeah, we learned nothing from them. It was great. They had a lot to say, but we didn't learn it.
But they were just good, man.
Yeah.
They were solid at answering the questions and giving good answers. And I don't know. I felt like, as much as we talk about Matt Rule's confidence and everything, that has bled over into the players, and you can see it, you can hear it, you can feel it just when they're sitting there and the way they're answering the questions, the way they're carrying themselves. This is a confident bunch. This is a group of players. Now, whether it comes to fruition is to be seen, and we'll find out. But from the outset, it looks like they're ready.
The Yankees are putting on a defensive clinic right now. I agree with all of that. I think for me, like, take the 5-star quarterback out of it, take the big time wide receiver transfers in, what we saw at Jacordy Barney, take all that. The fact that you're hearing the same level of confidence and competency across the board, no matter who is speaking, is the reason that I'm so bullish on this season. Like, there's a lot to be excited about from a talent standpoint, and I truly believe that. But for me, Matt Rule doesn't come off to me as a guy that will blow smoke for the sense of blowing smoke. And when you listen to Ben Scott, Ty Robinson, and Isaac Gifford talk today, those are three no nonsense, all business guys. And they were overly confident about their outlook on their season. And that's why I'm as bullish on this season as I am. Everything else is just a cherry on top. They like, listen, yes, 10-2 is absolutely going on a branch and definitely is a reach. But I think it is obtainable for everything we just discussed in the last 49 minutes.
Yeah, it's it's definitely off season, like second guessing season. It's Nebraska off season national champions again. It's all that stuff. There's a lot there that's going to make you think that they're going to win a whole bunch of games in the fall. And we'll just have to wait and see, man.
There was a lot of good that came out of all the four guys that were wearing the N today. There was a guy that was taken to the podium for the first time today. Didn't have as much luck in his first appearance at Big Ten Media Days. We're going to talk about it on the other side of the break. If you missed this segment, check it out at wherever you find your podcast at. You can find us on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you may be looking. We are there. It was brought to you by Forsman's Finest Decks. You don't got to paint the house. You don't have to go out and spend $1 billion to renovate it.
Whoa.
Just add a deck to the house. That's right. You can have a living space outside that you can enjoy, whether it's hot, whether it's cold. Put a cover over the top of it. You've got to burn in the sun. Just enjoy being outside with the finest decks in Omaha, built courtesy of Forsman's Finest Decks. Head over to forsmansfinest.com tonight and have your dream deck built this summer. Forsman's Finest Decks, building the finest decks around town. Social media soundbite. Other side of the break. We come back. 6:55 on the After Hours Lounge here on 1620 Zone, brought to you by Bellevue University. Just a reminder, Larry Martin and the Omaha North Vikings coming up at 7:30. They'll join us in studio here tonight. Before we can get there, we got to talk to the hardest working man at Energy Media, one Dan Campanen, who's got a doozy for us tonight in the social media soundbite.
Yeah, we like to talk about how loquacious our coach is and how he can hold a room.
Great
well,
word.
Unfortunately, not all are as blessed as Nebraska. Here you go.
So bad.
I feel so embarrassed for him.
This is not edited, by the way.
Like, it hurts me.
Oh, no.
Have you not seen this yet?
No. So,
that's new UCLA head coach Deshaun Foster, who, for anybody that doesn't know, he walked out on the stage and the logos behind him were the Big Ten and the UCLA logo. And it seems like that's all he knew when he walked out there.
No, Jimmy, he did the nervous high schooler who didn't prepare for a presentation laugh at the end.
Yeah, which made it way worse, by the way.
I listened to most of it. I probably, so that was a minute 12.
Yeah.
I probably
It
only
felt like
listened
an
to maybe
hour.
like 36 seconds of it
Yeah.
because I
Ugh.
was so uncomfortable.
So I didn't listen to this live because I was listening to Tony Tony Petiti talk in his sidebar thing while this was happening, and people were tweeting about how bad it was, and it started off and I was like, this is fine,
It's okay.
and then he got to
You probably don't know much about UCLA football.
not even that, which would have been fine because I think that's a fair assumption. I don't think anybody in the room didn't have any idea who UCLA football was, but it's like, hey.
We're in LA.
Hey, Deshaun, LA's in the name of the school. We were able to figure that out. But this wouldn't have been as bad. He's a UCLA graduate. Like, he went to school there. He should have been in. I think what happened was he probably had some notes beforehand. Somebody's like, hey, talk about our Heisman Trophy.
I don't think he did.
It felt like he didn't prepare, but somebody had said, hey, here's a couple things you can say when you get out there. And he was trying to remember what they said and didn't have anything ready. Because if you look and they say, give us your opening statement, he kind of like looks off to the side as like, oh,
I didn't know I was going to have to do this.
And in his defense, he was the first coach to speak today.
That's not a defense. That's indefensible.
But he's a first-time head coach. He's never done this before. He clearly was not there yesterday. And he was the first one to speak today. So it's not like
my guy did not prepare
anything.
And he thought he could wing it. And let me tell you, he could, in fact, not wing it.
Does this concern you at all for UCLA football?
Well, I'll tell you.
Because it doesn't concern me at all.
The quote about it from Deshaun Foster later that I love, when someone asked him about it in his little breakout session, he said, has there been a bunch of good speakers up there who can't coach?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
I don't know what the reporter said. But he was like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Like,
my favorite part about his sidebar though is he was asked about if there needs to be a salary cap in college athletics. He said, "Well, there's a salary cap. Well, everywhere except for Oregon, there's a salary cap." And I was like, "Oh, the fuel of the fire has already been added, and he's in his first year." Hey, that was the social media soundbite tonight. If you want to be embarrassed for somebody, give it a listen at SoundCloud.com/AfterHours1620. Social media soundbite is always brought to you by our friends at Pixel Fire Marketing. If you are a business owner, Google yourself right now. Something come up that you don't even recognize, or maybe you're not quite getting those 5-star reviews that you feel like you've earned over the years. Pixel Fire Marketing can help with all that. Let Courtney, the Google gal, who it's her birthday today, come out and explain to you exactly how you raise those ratings or get those reviews that you've earned and build your Google business profile up to where it should be. Check out pixelfiremarketing.com for more details tonight. We're buying or selling. On the other side of the break, we come back 1620 zone. Guys, it's Jimmy Allen here, and I can't tell you how excited that I have been to work with a company like AX Plumbing. Nick Bitts and his crew have been nothing but absolute professionals, not only for me, but the people that we've referred through the show or just listeners who have called in and helped them out. We've gotten so many reviews about how great and how easy and how seamless it is to work with a professional crew like AX Plumbing. I know if you're like me, you've been seeing the red and white vans with AX's logo popping up all over the city of Omaha, as well as front yard signs and banners on fences and things like that. It's not by accident. AX Plumbing is professional. They do what they say they're going to do, and they deliver. Not only that, they'll leave your house or your business cleaner than they found it. Head over to axpservice.com. If you have any plumbing needs or just questions, Nick and his crew will come out and give you a free consultation, answer the questions you may have about backflow, gas piping. Maybe your water heater has some question marks about it. They can help you out with all that. Head over to axpservice.com. Book that free estimate. There's also a discount if you end up working with AX Plumbing, if you're a former or current military member as well. Check out axpservice.com tonight. $704. On a Wing Wednesday edition of the After Hours Lounge presented by Pyramid Contractors. You don't become the #1 roofer in Omaha 13 consecutive years by accident. Get a free estimate by heading over to pyramidroof.com and book a free estimate with Kyle and the team. Tonight, it's time for Buy or Sell. Dan Campion, we got to kind of run through this a little quickly, so go ahead and give it to us.
Rip it, D.
Hey, well, you know what's more important? We got a little bit of clarity coming up in the upcoming episode of Hard Knocks. The conversation between Saquon Barkley and Giants GM Joe Cohen about being a free agent was recorded and filmed while
Cohen
was on the phone with the All-Pro back. However, Barkley said he was unaware that the cameras were filming. Buy or sell, this is a bad look for the HBO and the NFL.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a bad look for them. Kind of sucks. I mean, Saquon, for anybody that's heard the audio, he was professional and didn't say anything, negative about the organization or that would affect or hurt him. But I mean, that's probably something you should let somebody know, especially when you're having this personal of a conversation.
For sure. That would be a professional courtesy to say, hey, we're filming the Hard Knocks show right now. So this conversation is probably going to go to air.
And then go ahead and hit record, Hard Knocks guy.
Yeah. It's not great. It's a little bit of gotcha style journalism, and it's not good.
All right, hold on. Because this is not a bad look for the NFL, and this is not a bad look for HBO. This is a bad look for the Giants.
Agreed.
And only the Giants. Because number one, it is not on the NFL and HBO to be like, well, every conversation that you have, you need to let them know that they're going to be on the tape and on the camera.
Yeah, and the cameraman may not have known that he didn't tell him either. Because, I mean, he could have texted him or whatever, too.
And that's on Cohen for not being like, hey, by the way, you remember that thing that they announced that we were doing for the offseason? Yeah. They're doing it right now while we're having this phone conversation. Do you want this to be on a documentary? And I'm sure Saquon Barkley, of all people, would probably have been like, yeah, sure. And this conversation's about to go the way that I think it's going to go.
Yeah, because, I mean, listen.
I can get on board with that, Dan.
The Giants were like, hey, listen, we're going to let you go. And we're just asking, if we do, are you going to go somewhere in division? That's literally the conversation they had. So
also, the greatest part of that conversation was later on, Mara walks in and he's like, I'll feel so bad if he goes to the Eagles. Then dun, 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 dun,
put it out in the universe. Dan, what's number 2?
Number 2, already moving on. Bill Belichick. He was offered a job to coach on the 49ers staff this year, but the hoodie turned it down. Buy or sell, we will ever see Belichick in the NFL again.
I sell, and here's why. I don't know if any other franchise is going to want to deal with Bill Belichick the way he wants to run an organization, and despite his success because of his age. And let's be honest, he rubs people the wrong way. And I don't think he ever takes a job that's not a head coaching job.
That was my point. Not as an assistant.
Yeah.
He's not taking an assistant coach job.
Nor should he, by the way.
There's zero chance that he's going to be somebody's defensive coordinator. It's not going to happen.
Dan, can you ask us number 3 and then go let Larry Martin and team in?
Yes, I can. By the way, to add my quick thought onto number 2, he doesn't have anything left to prove.
Agreed.
Coach Rule mentioned today that 4 teams from the Big Ten should be in the college football playoff. Buy or sell that is the right number.
Yeah, we kind of touched on this a little bit ago, but man, that just, especially in a 12 team, that does seem like a lot. I get his sentiment because he said that the Big Ten is more like the NFL than any other conference because of the level of competition, and it's a coast to coast league, and the travel in which you have to undergo to play in this league warrants it maybe being the tough. But man, 4 teams. That's 1/3 of. I mean, that would mean it's the Big Ten, the SEC, the 4 champions, and the automatic bid that goes to a non-Power 5 school, and that's it. And I don't see a world in which you could put 4 teams in over a Big 12 champion and maybe a 10 or 11 win Big 12 team as well.
Oh, if the Big Ten's getting 4 teams in, then the SEC probably should as well.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're talking 4 Big Ten, 4 SEC, then you've got 4 spots left. So you're talking.
Well, you couldn't, because you would have the 4 automatic qualifiers from the Big 12, Big 10, SEC. Well, no, yeah, because you would still have the 4 automatic qualifiers, and you have to have the 1 non-Power 5 school.
But I'm saying you could have 4 Big 10 teams, 4 SEC teams, the ACC champion, 1 or 2
right.
teams.
Because they would already have 2 of those 4 teams
from the Big 12, and then the automatic qualifier. So
it's not that far out of the realm of possibilities.
8 of the 12 from 2 conferences. I could see it happening, to be honest with you.
I don't think it would have happened like in the last 6 or 7 years, though. I think you would have had 2 either ACC teams or 2 Big 12 teams that would have probably fit somewhere in that top 12 range. So it's easy to say that, but it's like there's so many variables to the way the college football season plays out that more than likely, more times than not, you're going to get Big 10 and SEC teams in just because they are kind of the cream of the crop. But I don't know. We'll see. Dan?
You want number 4?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up here.
Oh, okay. Then no, we're not going to do number 4.
All right.
Oh,
We're going to do random Dan question
I like it.
because I have one today.
Nice.
Congratulations to Josh Allen and Haley Steinfeld because
They get married?
No,
Oh,
but they're like totes Instagram official now. Josh Allen went to a baby shower with Haley Steinfeld.
Oh,
They were
Josh.
together at a baby shower.
Josh.
And they were in Paris, the most romantic city in the world, together. Buy or sell that Josh Allen is using this as a PR stunt to get more attention, just like Travis Kelce.
This is a thing now, and it's kind of annoying me. Like Paul Skeens and Livy Dunn are very much the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift of Major League Baseball. Like, who wants this? Like, if I was Josh Allen, I'd be like, no, like, not Haley Steinfeld, but like the attention from it. I don't think so. I think they are in a genuine. They've been together forever. They don't do a lot of stuff on social media, so.
No, and that was why it was a big deal because this is like the first time that they've ever even like posted anything together
Good for them.
or mentioned each other, which is hilarious.
who's Haley Steinfeld?
She was Kate Bishop in Hawkeye, the Disney series show.
Didn't watch it.
She's a singer. She's an actress.
She
Dan,
would've-
what else was she in? You're of movies
She would have been in a lot of stuff
you haven't seen.
that you definitely wouldn't have seen because she's
She was in Pitch Perfect.
too young for you, but too old for your son's like generation of like stuff that she
she's
would have
27.
Caught on to.
Is she the voice of Gwen Stacy in Into the Spider-Verse?
Yes, she is.
She is, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Have you seen those movies?
Oh yeah. Love
so
those movies.
She plays Gwen Stacy in that.
All right.
I'm trying to think of what else I've seen her in. I can't think of anything else that.
Oh, if you've seen the Jeff Bridges Western movie remake, come on, the one where the guy comes into town and kills the little girl's dad.
Oh,
and then Jeff Bridges is like the hardened cowboy who's
Homesman.
like, I'm gonna go out and find him.
No.
The Homesman.
No.
No.
Right?
It's a remake of a John Wayne movie.
No. Jeff Bridges cowboy.
This is great radio.
Movie.
This is why we don't talk about actresses.
True Grit.
True Grit. I
She-
just was about to say it.
She was the young girl in True
All
Grit.
right. She's
And
the little
actually
kid
got
in True
nominated
Grit.
for an Academy Award for that movie.
All right. Well, that's the last time we'll talk about relationships on this radio show. If you missed the buy or sell segment, listen to it at soundcloud.com/afterhours1620 or wherever you may find your podcast at. That segment was brought to you by our friends at Williams Law. You can work with Bob Williams and his team if you or somebody you love is facing legal litigation by heading over to WilliamsLawLLC.com tonight. Get a free, no obligation legal consultation from Bob and his team. They'll sit down, they'll explain your rights, they'll go over the details about how you can attack your case by checking out WilliamsLawLLC.com tonight. We'll be right back. We may be talking about increases in scholarships or to the Omaha North Vikings. We're going to figure out what Coach Martin and the crew will do when we come back. 1620 zone.
Hey, everybody. John Schreiner here for Williams Law. If you or someone you know has been wrongfully accused of a crime, and especially in that situation, which is a terrible spot to be in, you might feel a little bit helpless. Well, you need the help of Bob at Williams Law. He's going to walk you through the process. He's going to explain all your rights, let you know how it's going to play out, and going to give you the best defense that you can find anywhere in the metro. Very smart guy, comes in and talks sports law with us once a week. He knows so much about the law. He's probably forgotten more law than we'll ever know. You need to get Bob on your team, no matter what the problem. If it's a civil litigation, if you've got somebody who's found themselves in a spot of bother, let Bob give you that free, no obligation consultation today. Call him at 402-522-6317. Get the answers you're looking for, or you can check him out on the web at williamslawllc.com.
right, we're a little ahead of schedule. 7:17 on a Wednesday night here on 1620 Zone. Brought to you by Pyramid Contractors. Over a decade of being the #1 roofer in Omaha. Check out pyramidroof.com to book a free estimate tonight. Larry Martin, the head coach of the Omaha North Vikings, has joined us in studio. He's brought Connor Cook, Darian Jones, Max Clark, and Mikey Gow with him. Coach, thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you.
Hey, Dan, can we get a... Sorry, there we go. Coach, thanks for being here tonight. We appreciate it.
You bet. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Hey, 8-3 a year ago, a trip to the playoffs, a victory in the first round. Does that define last season as a success in your mind?
Well, I think the kids did a great job. We competed. We play at a high level caliber football. We stayed healthy. We got beat by Millard South in the quarterfinals. Probably wish we could have played that game again.
Sure.
They're obviously very talented and very good, but they didn't probably get our best effort that night. But overall, considering the youth that we had on the field and the kids that we had coming back, very encouraged and very excited, and it's catapulted us into this this off season.
And Coach, talking to you over the years, we've talked a lot over the past handful of years about just that lost COVID year and how that impacted the OPS schools so significantly. Do you think you're finally kind of on the other side of that with the experience factor and the kids are back in the routine and they've got the experience they need?
I think we're getting there. My reflection on that would be even our senior class this year is still small in numbers overall. Our freshman class, we all thought about our 5th grade, 6th grade students in the Omaha Public Schools, getting them reactivated, getting them going again. Our freshman numbers this year are going to be extremely higher than what they've been in the past. Obviously, we know part of the football is a numbers game.
Yep.
But yeah, obviously the experience of kids getting out there and playing on Friday nights and making plays and stuff like that, and in the developmental piece that you miss off at the JV level and the freshman level. But once again, we're super excited about this group. We have a very talented group of kids, and we just can't wait to get started on the 12th of August.
Is it concerning at all you don't have very much size? Just kidding. You brought a ton of size with you tonight, and you guys are going to have a lot of. Listen, a quick start a year ago. You jumped out to that 8-1 start to a season. How important was it last year to get after that quick start? And is that an emphasis this season as well?
Well, a lot of it's dictated off the summer. I think anybody that would watch our football program over the years, we want to be a team that is probably getting going and playing our best football once October. I think it's hard to sustain that through 9 weeks. At least my perception on how we go about
Sure.
it. But we want to hit full stride come that that middle to end of September, and then peaking. At the end of October, November, when we're, when the playoffs are going to start like that. So, but yeah, we got a tough opener, obviously. We put them down, and, we got the 3-time defending state champ and Westside. And,
yeah.
But I believe that the core of our program in the 25 years that I've been there is that if you want to be the best, you got to play the best. And obviously that program is playing at a very high level right now. And we'll definitely find out where we're at after that.
Coach, offense has evolved so much, but your program has been about smash mouth, run the ball. We're coming straight at you. We're going downhill. Why is that identity important, do you think, to not only your football team, but the culture you've created?
Well, one thing I would say about that, when we had the depth in the running backs, not that we don't now, but we don't quite have the depth that we had when we were in that run. But, I say this, that the things that we try to do are different than what everybody else is doing, and people aren't used to seeing that style of football. And so I do think there's an advantage in that. But we've evolved, believe it or not. We are.
We won't tell anybody.
Yeah, no, and we have to. But we want to be physical. We want to be downhill. In practice, our kids see that, and then hopefully that translates over into the games. And so it's not I'm not saying that teams aren't, in the I formation aren't physical, because they are. But, for us, that just fits our style. It fits our mold. It's what we know. That's what our kids believe in. And I think our guys have done a good job the last couple of years, especially going into this year of evolving our offense and making it, so the team's got to defend you side to sideline too.
And just so you know, as John was asking that question, your 4 players were all smiling, nodding along with him as he was talking. I want to bring something up because it's interesting, because obviously you guys are tucked away a little bit over in North Omaha. We were just talking to Lee Jennings last night at Fremont, and we were just talking to the folks out of Papio South the night before, and they talked about the distance away where their schools are. And with Class A growing in the addition of Grand Island, and obviously you guys have to travel to Papio South and Gretna and Westside and all these locations that are far away from your school. How do you guys at North deal with the travel and handle that portion of the game day preparation?
For us, we really don't have we do not have a home field.
Yeah.
We do play all of our games on the road. I know Northwest isn't that far, so
Mhm.
it's our kids have to be in a mindset that once you leave the school, you got to be ready to go. And but yeah, we go to Kearney this year. We go up to South Sioux. We obviously Papio South. That is a little far from where our school is.
Yeah.
But our kids over the years, our coaches do a great job of preparing for them. I think our routine that we have established that's consistent over on game days that allow the kids, so they know exactly what's going on, what's to be expected of them. And then, like I said, they just don't really know any better because we've always,
It's an away game
traveled
no
to
matter
play
what.
games,
Yeah.
so hopefully I answered your question.
Do you think that there's a disadvantage by not having that home field? Does that hurt in any way, or does it help when you do have to go on the road because it's just kind of built in?
Yeah, I think it would, definitely have a home field advantage, and it'd be nice to walk out your
Sure.
back door and have a game and bring people to your school and your stadium. Definitely, I do think that. But I've been at North for 20 some years, and there is talk, to put a stadium down there. Obviously, anybody that's been in our area of the town, it's very landlocked.
Yeah.
And the parking would be
Be kind of hard
a
to find a
challenge
spot
and stuff
for
like
sure.
that. But I think our kid, we intentionally try to keep all of our our lower level, our JV and our freshman games at home because I want our kids to play at home, take pride in their school, and I want our parents to do that as well. And my hope is that that someday that there will be a stadium down there because North Omaha, deserves that as well.
Agreed.
Coach, your influence on the North community goes much deeper than football. You're very involved in the lives of your student athletes and a lot of the young men who are not necessarily your student athletes. What motivates you to be that sort of pillar of the community and be that strong force at Omaha North?
Yeah, I appreciate that. One of the biggest things for me now at the age that I'm getting to be is you see it come back, triple folded back to you. Our former players are back into the community now, and committed to helping out and support down there. So I'm just seeing that, and that's really exciting. I just see it amongst the coaches. We talk about it, and they're giving back. They're down there, being very successful in their businesses. They're raising their families. They're helping in the youth sports that are down there, and they take a lot of pride in that community. And that's what I would say that motivates me the most is that when I see our former players and families really embracing our community and supporting that, and watching them go on and be successful and being good fathers and good business
Absolutely.
people in the community.
Coach, we're going to talk to a couple of your current players that have joined us in studio. We'll go over to Connor Cook, who joins us tonight. Connor, you pick up that first D1 offer from Georgia State. How did the offer come about? What does it mean to have that first offer?
So obviously, feels great to be noticed by a D1 program and for them to trust me enough to offer me and all that. But it came about kind of just all of a sudden, early July. Coach follows me on Twitter, looks at my film, calls me a week later, gives me that scholarship, and I was ecstatic, but I was also very confused because Atlanta, Georgia is pretty not super close to Omaha. So a lot
Is that
of
a
mixed
concern?
feelings, but yeah.
Is that a concern, the distance?
Not entirely. No,
It doesn't snow there.
it doesn't.
You're a big fella, 6'9", 330 listed. We hear all the time these funny stories about the tall people struggles. Do you have a favorite, like, I was too big for this story?
Where do you
start?
Lot of options here. Probably my sophomore year English class. First day I sat down and the chair just dropped straight to the floor.
Oh, no.
That was probably my worst one. And then another one is walking through the door to walk in here, bump my head a little bit. But yeah, it's just every day.
Is sweating also always an issue for you?
Always.
Okay. There's a little sweating incident before you walked in the door, too. You guys have a nasty offensive line down there with Tyson, those guys, and everybody that you have to go up against in practice. How much do the guys on the other side of the ball help you as an offensive lineman be better?
Well, I think overall they're probably the best defensive line in the state. So just going against them, reps on reps on reps every single day, just makes our O-line a whole lot better. Like last year, we went from a mediocre O-line with a lot of size to a really smart, physical, dominant O-line by that middle end of the year.
He's not here tonight. So are you getting the better of Tyson in practice?
It's about 50-50 now.
I was giving you a chance, man.
I asked Coach about the smash mouth football. What's the best part about being an O-line in the run-heavy offense?
Best part of being the O-line is just, I don't know, I just love just moving people.
Yeah.
Because when we do our job up front, it makes everyone else's job easier, and then our offense looks better, and we win football games. And that's all it comes down to. I like winning football games.
What do you want to be when you grow up?
Oh, boy. Probably a coach, PE
Okay.
teacher type deal.
You want to be
But
Larry Martin when you grow up?
Yeah, something like that.
Hey, Connor, thanks for being here tonight, man.
Yeah, thank
We
you.
greatly appreciate it. We'll go over to Darian Jones, who joins us in studio as well. Darian, for you, Coach mentioned it, man. 36 days away from kickoff. You guys get West Side. I wasn't going to bring it up. He brought up the Warriors, so I'll mention it. But what has the biggest focus for you been this offseason?
This offseason, the biggest focus for me personally was really working on this summer, getting bigger, faster, and stronger. It was a very big thing to me. I had to work really hard this year because I'll be playing a bigger role in our offense and defense. So I know I had to do really hard, go really hard every day in summer.
Quarterback wide receiver relationship, super important, obviously. And you're working with a new one with Mikey coming in this year. What have you guys done to make that thing gel this summer?
Growing up, me and Mikey did play in middle school together at a 7-on-7 team. So when I heard he was coming to Omaha North, I was very ecstatic because I knew we already have that connection. And now every day we still get our work in, we get our reps, and we have that really good connection. All these passing games we've been playing, it gets better every single week.
Got a comment on your shirt, man. You're wearing a shirt that says OPS Strong. How important is it for you to be represented as an Omaha kid, as an OPS kid?
Growing up, my whole life, I was surrounded by Omaha North. My dad used to work there, and then both my brothers graduated from there. So I grew up with the culture and the community, and I know when I rock this Omaha North, I got to represent the community, and OPS, and it means a lot.
All right, what's the next step in your game? How are you going to be better this year?
I'm going to really take the role on and off the field and being a leader to my teammates. I got to really work hard every day and show up and be a leader.
Getting a lot of love from the Dakota schools, North Dakota State and South Dakota State. Made sure to wish you a happy birthday on Twitter as well. What's the relationship with those two schools like, and what's your recruiting process been like?
Those two schools are really big on me because I think they like how I am, and I would say they're both equal. They both text me, coaches will get me up to camps and stuff, so I like that a lot. And then my recruiting process, it's been going. It's just like a new thing for me. It's finally got bigger. And then so
that helps.
Coaches finally hitting my Twitter up, so it's been exciting.
We ask the hard questions on this show, so I've got to ask you: is a hot dog a sandwich?
I don't eat hot dogs, so
okay. But is it a sandwich though?
No, I don't think so.
No. All right. There. Thanks for being here.
There you go.
Max, we'll go over to you now. Max Clark joins us in studio as well. Max, for you got out this summer and hit the camp circuit as well pretty hard. Why was it such a big deal for you to go out and kind of be involved in the camp circuit this year?
Yeah, I think I just wanted to get my name out there this summer and really show people that, I'm a pretty good player and that I can really ball with the big boys.
Is that a big deal for you?
Yeah, to get out there, yeah.
You got to play a ton as a sophomore. Was there a moment maybe in camp or during the season where you're like, okay, this is big boy football now?
Yeah, week 1 against Bell West, there was a slip screen with Davon Hall, and I thought I was going to get a clean blindside hit on him. I tried to hit him, and I fell right back. And he got up and started celebrating right away.
He talked to you a little bit?
Yeah, he started screaming pretty good at me.
How does your role change from a year ago where you come in as an underclassman, swimming a little bit, trying to figure it out? How does it change as a junior this season as far as responsibility and being a leader out on the field?
Yeah, last year there was a lot of seniors on defense, especially in the secondary, that I could look to and talk to and, get up to speed and figure out from. And now they're all gone.
Sure.
So now I have to be that person in the secondary to talk to. And I'm just looking forward to really stepping up and
you ready for
that leader. Yeah.
Watched a little bit of your film. Absolutely love it. Love how strong you play on the outside. What's your favorite part about playing on the edge?
My favorite part is definitely coming off the edge and rushing the quarterback and getting sacks. Yeah.
Do you have the best hair in the Metro?
Yes.
I don't even think
I do.
No hesitation.
I don't even think it's
Immediate.
debatable. Max, thanks for being here tonight. We'll go over to Mikey Gow, who joins us in studio. One of the more unique players in the Metro area. You're ambidextrous, man. Does that actually help?
I would say it would. It does. It does have benefits, but on the other side of things, there's organizations like 3D QB. I don't know if you've ever heard of
it.
Yeah. They are starting to have their QBs throw with their left hand now.
Look what Patrick Mahomes did.
Yep. And then, but it helps build balance in quarterbacks.
Sure.
That's super that's really good for quarterbacks.
You're wearing the USA football shirt. We got to talk about this. You're all set to play, and then they tell you you're too young. Just walk us through. I'd love to hear the story, like how you got involved from the first place all the way up to that point where you get that disappointing news.
So it all started by me just going to a camp down in Houston. I went to a camp. I flew down there, and then I just did the camp, won MVP honors, and then got a call back last minute before it actually happened. And then because their starting quarterback dropped out because he had COVID or something, so I came in and Coach Martin let me go. And so I went, practiced the whole week, practiced hard. Felt like I did pretty good. And then got to game day, and when we got to the field, they had to check passports. And when we were sitting in like the stands to check passports, they called me and another 16-year-old down, and they basically told us we were too young to play. And so our coaches were mad, of course.
Yeah.
And
You got carded for playing football.
yeah,
Amazing.
but there was still hope for us to play against Japan on Wednesday, because they were like saying like, this is crap, like we're gonna get you guys.
Thanks for editing that for the radio. Appreciate it.
So I still had hope, and then that's where like the emotional like swing just came, because
Yeah.
I still had hope I was gonna play, and then Wednesday they told me I was done for good.
What?
And I could have gone home or stayed, and I just wanted to stay and be with the team.
Yeah. You mentioned it. You said you went out, and you worked hard, and it was an experience. Do you still look at it as an overall positive because the work you were able to put in, get some work with the guys that were there?
Yeah, it was definitely a great experience for me. Got to meet a bunch of new guys that I wouldn't have met before.
Sure.
Built a lot of relationships. Built a lot of relationships with the coaches. I think honestly, for me, not being able to play was almost a blessing in disguise. You're playing 3 games in 12 days. So, the possibility of getting hurt, and then, so I felt like it was a good experience for me. Also, with me being ruled out, I took that as a positive to be a leader to my teammates.
Sure.
And
be a de facto coach.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I stayed on the sidelines, and I helped lead and helped other quarterbacks do their thing.
Coming to a new school this year, what's been your primary focus when it comes to fitting into the culture and the atmosphere at North?
Well, I think it's pretty easy to fit in for me. I've always had a winning mentality, and it's great to walk into at Omaha North.
Yep.
State championships there. Coach Martin, one of the best coaches in the Metro. I think the best coach in the Metro.
Just the Metro, huh?
Full state.
But
there you go.
two checks on his sheet there, Coach. He gets some extra bonus points.
But yeah, I think coming into Omaha North, it was really easy for me to fit in. I love the guys there. That we all have the same mentality that we want to win a state championship this year, and we're willing to put the work in to get there.
You put the work in on social media too. We see all over the place. You talk about the camps. You're obviously football is a very big part of your life and what you do, but you've also maintained a 4.0 GPA throughout all of that in your whole high school career. How big of a deal is your education and that side of things for you as well?
Well, for me, it's huge. My parents have always told me you never know what football is going to do for you, so you always have to have a plan B. So I've always had that in the back of my head. I remember in 6th grade, I literally threw a temper tantrum because I got 1 C on my report card.
Last time?
Yeah, in 6th grade. And ever since then, I don't know, I just kept good grades, tried hard in school, and it's worked out well for me. You
went to the Nebraska camp and got a couple snaps from the guy wearing 15 that's playing down there. What was the conversation with Dylan Raiola like?
Dylan was super cool. He was kind of like surprisingly cool. Like, you wouldn't think he'd.
Very humble kid. Yeah,
very
sure.
humble. And he did some like elusive throws during camp, so that was pretty cool to see.
You got a better arm?
Me?
Yeah. You have the microphone.
I always believe in myself.
There you go. That's the right answer.
Right answer.
We'll go back and talk to one of the most okay coaches apparently in the Metro, and Larry Martin, according to his quarterback. The Omaha North Vikings are in studio with us, and their head coach, Larry Martin, joins us. Coach. What's that?
I told Coach to get up here with me.
Yeah. Absolutely. Obviously, and your coaching staff is very important to you. Can you kind of talk about who some of the guys are on the staff that kind of help this thing go and why they're important to you?
Yeah, you hate to single any of them out, and just got a great staff that, to me, when I'm hiring guys, it's all about kids. Okay, I obviously want guys that can know their positions, but to me, they're in it for the right reasons, and they're here to help kids. And so I do have a great staff. Todd O'Neill, my offensive coordinator, started with me after my first year there. Coach Uronic has been with me the entire time I've been there. And then, I've had quite a few guys that have been around and are very well, that have played the game, that have coached the game for a while. So I'm very blessed. And I'm fortunate enough to have one of them with me tonight that's very loyal too. Coach Brazil came down here. You can already tell he's all about kids. And I asked him to come down here with us tonight. You bet. He's all about kids. He's very good at what he does. And and we're very fortunate to have him.
Lonnie Brazil is with us in studio tonight, Coach. What does it mean for you to be? Go ahead and grab this mic, Coach. Sorry. What does it mean for you to? We talked about it with your players to wear OPS on the front of your shirt and be a part of not only the Omaha North community but the North Omaha community, be able to coach in it.
Well, it started back in the day for me. My grandfather, Petey Allen, ran a Kellum League down on 24th Street, where a lot of the great players from West Omaha and North Omaha got together every Saturday. It's a great league. So if you know my background, I was at Creighton Prep High School.
Yep.
Came over from Creighton Prep. I've been fortunate. Coach Larry invited me over. Everything's worked out. Been there for about 9 years, and just giving back to the community. Nothing, it's all about kids, and that's what what made me choose Omaha North for my next move after prep. I want to give back, want to help the kids, and like Coach said, it's good to be out in the community and see those guys come up to you, introduce you to their kids and their family. Like, hey, Coach Brazil, he was hard on me. You can ask these guys here. I kind of ramp it up a little bit, but now I'm getting old, so I know how to back it off.
Don't do that. Don't do all that.
Well, just a little bit.
Sure. You mentioned it, the community, but it's not just the football community. You're involved in basketball and athletics.
Basketball. I work with the ETG boys basketball program. Yep. My daughter is part of the Nebraska Supreme program, so
they did okay this year.
Yeah, we did all right.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any particular reason athletics? Why did you become a coach? Why is it important for you to be a coach?
Well, I went to Northwest High School with all the old school coaches, Hanno, Olson, and all those guys. Just the way that they loved on us, and it's always one coach that makes you like, man, I want to do that one day. I want to work with kids. I want to make a difference in the community. And I tell you what, sports have helped me out and opened up a lot of doors for myself. 25 years in the district. I've been coaching ever since. And like the Lonnie Taps, my first coach I worked under at Omaha Benson, and then Chris Nizzi. I follow those guys. And then I won a couple state titles with Josh Lukey in basketball. So I don't know if it's me or I've been around a lot of successful guys.
You kind of mentioned your pedigree there. Why is it a big deal at Omaha North, and what's the best part of working under Larry Martin?
The best part of working under Larry Martin, he preaches family first. I have 2 daughters. They attend a different school in the district, and I've talked to them like before I took the job, like, hey, I have 2 daughters. I don't know if they're going to attend North High School. Larry says, don't worry, we're going to get in. We're going to practice. We're going to get you out. We don't do anything on Sundays, and enjoy your family. There's times like right now I have a daughter who's going to be a senior. She's getting recruited, so I have to leave and take visits. I know I feel comfortable going to coach, and it's like, hey, we'll fill in for you for the day. Go ahead and enjoy your family. And that's why I went North High School. It's a family. If you ever come to one of our games, it's a family event.
Coach, Coach Martin, we'll go back to you to kind of wrap this up. You talked about last year, the struggles and the successes. We're a new quarterback this season, a lot of changes, a lot of moving pieces, but a ton of talent. What should expectations at Omaha North be this season?
That's a great question. I believe that this team has a chance, and every year that I've been doing it, you can't say that. Mm-hmm. I know there's some very talented teams in Omaha, and we're one of them. But there's a lot of moving parts that play into that. How we deal with adversity and how the injury bug hits us and stuff like that, and how we practice together and how we hang out together. All that stuff plays a big role. But I believe from a talent standpoint that this team has a chance. It's going to be how well we work at it. And not every year that you can say that you coach. I've been doing this. This will be my 35th year. And not every team that I can stand up here at this mic and tell you that they have a chance. But I wholeheartedly, and a lot of my staff does too, that have been with us this summer, we've seen glimpses of the level that this team can play at. And so we're super excited. The championship isn't won in August and early September. You gotta stay the path. And we started 0-5 one year and we ended up in the semifinals. And so it's a long season, and you got to be committed to it for the whole way through it. And I'm confident that this young group, what I've seen in them and the stuff that they've been through since after Christmas, when we came back the second semester, to watch them embrace each other and work out in the weight room all winter and spring, and what I've seen this summer, I'm really excited for them.
You've talked about your staff and the people directly involved. Is there anybody at Omaha North that helps this program go, maybe behind the scenes, that we haven't necessarily talked about yet tonight?
Yeah, without a doubt. Obviously, Mr. Haynes,
Sure.
he was with me forever. He hired me, and I'm forever grateful for that opportunity. But Eric Johnson, our athletic director, does an excellent job. I believe Eric and I came to North the first year together. But Eric is very supportive. He understands what the other half of the education is, and but Eric's been with us the whole time, and he was a student athlete in college, and he's been a fantastic athletic director as far as I'm concerned, and we follow his leadership. And like I said, we're super excited for this fall.
Coach, when are you going to get one of those boys of yours to come back and help you coach?
Yeah, they certainly like to do that on Friday nights.
About 11
yeah,
p.m. Yeah.
But I'm proud of I'm proud of the OPS graduate. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. But my son, was coaching down at Northwest Missouri State for quite a few years, and he got on in March as an analyst at Northwestern in Chicago. And so, and that we saw that those guys just got approved by the NCAA, so they're going to be on field coaching this year. So huge opportunity for him. So
you guys have a problem competing with Northwestern's budget or something?
Well, trust me.
Yeah.
When he went with the COVID year, when he had to lose his salary, I was like, "Come on, son, I can get you a job."
Sure.
Appreciate all three of my boys played for me there at North, and we know what that's all about. And our family is very embedded into that school and that community.
Which one was the worst player? No, you don't have to answer that. I'm just kidding. That's
their dad.
That's the right answer. That's Larry Martin. You may know him from such famous hits as the head coach of the Omaha North Vikings. If you missed the Vikings segment tonight, check it out at soundcloud.com/afterhours1620 or wherever you may find your podcast. That is brought to you by AX Plumbing, home or residential. They do it all. Check out AXP Service Plumbing or AXPService.com for all of your plumbing, water heater, gas piping, or backflow prevention issues. AXP Plumbing is locally owned and operated. They even have a discount for current and former military members. Check out AXPService.com for a free estimate tonight. We'll be right back talking about scholarship limitations and expansions here on 1620 The Zone.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. John Schreiner here for Cunningham's Pub. You know that it is Wing Wednesday. You already knew that. Jimmy's told you that already today. We got some of the delicious blueberry sriracha wings from Cunningham's tonight. And I've told you this before. It's not something you would ever think about ordering in your life. I certainly didn't. Derek and the crew brought us a pan of those blueberry sriracha wings. Couldn't have been better. They are absolutely delicious. I encourage you to get out to Cunningham's and try them for yourself. I also encourage you to follow After Hours and follow Cunningham's and then retweet that picture that we send out on Wednesdays because you're going to get entered to win a $25 gift card. You can go get some free blueberry sriracha wings. They are tremendous. Everything on the menu is great. Cunningham's has the tap takeover with Cross Strain going on right now. You love the fairy nectar? Go get it on tap. They've got a whole bunch of specials going on. Get to Cunningham's, one of the two locations. Old Mill, Blackstone. You're going to love it. Go there. Grab some wings. Grab some drinks tonight.
And we're wrapping up the show. We're going to have to compact a couple things here. We are brought to you by our friends at Pyramid Contractors. You don't become the number one roofer in Omaha 13 consecutive years by accident. If you've been affected by the seasonal storms, head over to pyramidroof.com and book a free estimate today. We've got to get to this before we wrap it up. The Ross Dellinger from On3 reports today that the NCAA is set to approve as early as this week scholarship numbers going up, affecting multiple sports. It's not just football. The numbers are expected to be 105-man scholarship roster for football, which would mean the elimination of walk-ons, but you would get those additional 20 scholarships, 15 in basketball, which is 2 more than it was for men and women.
Mm-hmm.
As well as something that I think has been much needed, and I'm surprised it's taken this long, 22.3. So there's no longer that 0.7 scholarship limit in baseball anymore. It gets up to a solid 34 number, which I still may not even be enough, in my opinion, for
it's
what
a good
you
number.
Need. It's a better number. It's not what you need. And then softball gets a bump up to 25 from 12.
Which is good because you don't need as many pitchers on a softball team.
Correct, which was what I was just about to say. And volleyball gets an increase of +6.
Yep.
Which is really interesting to me, and not really something I thought needed to happen, but it's going to be a really nice safety net for some of those coaches.
Yeah, I love all this. I think it's great. I told you I thought it was going to be 105 in football. I thought that was the right number. It's right about where you need to be. I think it's roughly twice as much as an NFL roster is.
The only thing that I think that you're going to see now, because I thought it needed to be at least 115, 110. I think you're going to see walk-ons be available, but I think there's going to be a cap. I think it's going to be, okay, you can have 5, 10, or 15 walk-on players available
that don't dress on game day.
Yeah.
Unless they're sort of like the practice squad in the NFL.
Right, because it's going to be like thinking in like Rudy terms, right? It's going to be really hard for, like, if you got a guy that's kind of athletic that's around campus, it's like, hey, I'll come cover guys, I'll come hold a bag, or whatever.
I think I would be okay with like a 10-man practice squad. Like, you can have a practice squad roster, guys that aren't dressing, that aren't necessarily getting all the full athlete benefits, but they can come and practice. Yeah, I would be okay with that.
But because of NIL capabilities, you've got to put a limit on it. I don't think you should unlimit. Well, I don't think you should get rid of walk-ons completely. But I think having 40 just guys out there that
they're never going to see the field,
that aren't going to see the field it's beneficial for, like, because I even think about like the prospect of like women's basketball. A lot of women's basketball teams around the country practice against males that aren't that are just
boys. They're called the practice boys.
They're just guys on campus, around campus, that come play pickup against the female athletes.
My best friend when he was in college was on a practice squad for the women's soccer team at Nebraska. They had a practice squad of boys that they played against in practice every day. He was on that team.
And if we're talking about eliminating that type of stuff, like, that's eliminating the college experiences to some degree too. Like, we might as well get rid of intramural sports at Iowa Western while we're at it. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, no, I think it's good. I think increasing the scholarship limits for baseball was an absolute necessity.
It took too long, in my opinion.
It took way too long. And I like the increase in volleyball too. I think that's good. That sport is growing so much. I think you've got to make some room for some extra players to get those opportunities for scholarships.
I know a lot of people will probably look at the 15 number and the bump of 2 scholarships to basketball and go, really? You don't need that big of a bench.
No,
in
you
basketball.
really don't.
You
Most teams go 7 or 8 deep, maybe 9
at the
some
max.
schools.
Yeah. And we're talking about 15 guys being on under scholarship. That's plenty.
That's fine.
My opinion. They may not have even needed the bump.
You got 3 full teams. You're all right.
Yeah, and it gives you room for depth too. But 105 for football. That's a 20-person bump, and it's. I know a lot of people around here are gonna throw a pitch about the walk-on program going away, possibility in that, but this is going to lead to, in my opinion, around here, to make it about Nebraska for football. I think you're going to get more guys locally that end up with scholarships too.
This
and that's
is what
that's
I
a
said.
huge deal.
Yeah, those guys who like probably could have gone and gotten an FCS offer or maybe a low Division I offer, but chose to walk on at Nebraska. Those guys are going to be back in scholarship guys now. You have room to offer that player a scholarship rather than asking him to pay his own way.
Or gray shirt or something like that. This is usually where we give our hot takes of the night. Do we want to get to that real quick and wrap it up?
We can either get to that or we can play a fun game called Things That Didn't Make the Social Media Soundbite tonight.
Sure.
Because
like
I had
that.
I
Yeah.
had 12 of them today.
Was any of them Lincoln Riley's quote about Alabama, by the way?
None of them. If you
Okay.
want to mention that right now.
Yeah,
you
because
can.
I think there's this problem or epidemic in college football right now where if you haven't been paying attention, everybody is talking about scheduling. Like Matt Rule brought it up, Kirk Ferentz talks about it every single year. Lincoln Riley brought it up. Like Matt Rule was like, hey, if somebody would have came to me 2 years ago and was like, hey, we want to add USC and UCLA to the schedule, I'd have told him, no, I'm not doing that. Well, here they are. But now everybody is talking about this. Okay, we're playing tougher competition in conference. Until they like make it mandatory or whenever the relegation discussion starts happening and it becomes the big boys of college football, I think we're going to see this 2 or 3 year lull where you start seeing more Nebraska versus Northern Iowa games versus Nebraska versus Colorado.
There won't be a marquee non-conference game
because you don't have to play the big boys out of conference anymore because you don't have to go 11-1 or 12-0 to play for a national championship. So there is literally almost no reason to do it. Like strength of schedule isn't going to matter because of the automatic qualifiers that are built in and the fact that the conferences are as difficult to play in now as they are.
There's a famous saying. It goes like this: discretion is the better part of valor. You can call them cowardly if you want, but they're going to have a better chance to make the postseason.
Like, here's the thing. When you look at how successful the SEC has been, like this has blown my mind for years. You can't talk about them being the best conference, and obviously the talent level's got a lot to do with it, but they get so much flack and people talk so negatively about Alabama playing the Citadel in week 9. Why wouldn't you copy that model? It's obviously working for them. Yes, they absolutely have the talent, and athletes in the South are built a little bit differently in most cases, but they're doing something the right way.
It's
obviously
almost a third bye week.
Yeah, and it gives you as a team the ability to be healthy at the back end of the season and maybe not play some guys in big time situations that are banged up and nicked up and give them a week to recover. And the fact that more schools, especially in the Big Ten, haven't adapted that mentality or that scheduling adaptation has blown my mind for the longest time. I don't understand it.
Yeah, I mean, look, you do what you got to do to win championships, and whatever that means.
Like, you can say whatever you want about Alabama playing the Citadel, but if you were a Nebraska fan, wouldn't you play the Citadel in week 9 if it meant you were playing for a national championship in week 13?
Sure would.
Everybody would take it. Hey, that's been the After Hours Lounge. You could take it anytime at soundcloud.com/After Hours 1620. It was brought to you by our friend Amber Best with Berkshire Hathaway. If you are looking to build your portfolio through real estate, or maybe you want to sell a house and just need some expertise on how to do it, head over to Amber Best. That's BESS.com tonight. Work with Amber and her team at Berkshire Hathaway on how to move your house off the market or maybe purchase your forever home today. For John Schreiner, Dan Campinen, I've been Jimmy Allen. Happy National Tequila Day, everybody.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da.